Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. At first, I want to talk about Aspen Hysys software and introduce it. This is a photo of SLA refinery in Iran, and Hysys software has the ability to simulate most of the equipments in the picture. It is also the most famous process simulation software in the field of chemical and petroleum engineering. And now I'm going to open Aspen Hysys software and going to explain about it or explain about some of the equipments and every process that is simulated by Hysys. A series of currents enters or leaves the device. For instance, material and energy stream. The blue stream or the material stream used for main streams, and the red stream or energy stream used for thermal heat process. And I'm going to explain about separator. Yes, this is separator. What is separator? It's a kind of device that separates something into its constituent or distinct element. Two or three phase heat separation used for separate gases. In two-phase heat separator, gas and liquid flows are separate, which is called phase separator. Production flow from oil wells is produced two phases, for example, oil and gas, and sometimes three-phase, for example, gas, oil, and water. In order to consume each phase separately, they must be separate from each other in some way. This process of separation is done in different containers prepared under a special design. These containers are called separator. And the other item is, it's about reactor. It's a kind of reactor, for example, plug flow reactor or PFR. Plug flow reactors are tubular reactors that assume perfect radial mixing and approximate zero axial dispersion. A PFR is used primarily for gas phase reactions. Hysys PFRs can utilize kinetic equilibrium and heterogeneous catalysis reaction types. The user must define an inlet stream and outlet stream. Like most Hysys units, multiple streams can enter the same unit. It is tank reactor or CSC reactor, and it is really famous. The continuous strike tank reactor assumes perfect mixing throughout the volume of the reactor, and the outlet conditions are approximated as equal to conditions into the reactor. The general reactors, equilibrium reactor, conversion, Gibbs reactor, each is a CSTR with a specialization in its corresponding Hysys reaction type. The kinetics, equilibrium, and heterogeneous catalysis reaction types can be used with the generic CSTR. It is equilibrium reactor. Equilibrium reactor is a CSTR with a specialization in equilibrium reactions and thus can only function with reaction sets including that reaction type. The outlets from this reactor will be in a state of chemical and physical equilibrium according to parameters defined in the reaction set. As a consequence, the operation is extremely sensitive to input parameters in variables. The user might find it easier to use the Gibbs reactor in situations where sensitivity affects the program's ability to reach convergence. And this is conversion reactor. The conversion reactor is a CSTR with a specialization in conversion reactions and thus can only function with reaction sets including that reaction type. This is Gibbs reactor. Yeah, okay. The Gibbs reactor is an extremely unique CSTR in that does not require a reaction set to be attached in order to function. The Gibbs reactor will simply produce an outlet in which Gibbs free energy of the mix is minimized. This is compressor. Machines that condense gases are called compressor. Increasing the pressure of gases is possible by reducing the volume and increasing the kinetic energy and converting it into pressure compressor that work based on reducing volume are called positive displacement compressors. And compressors that work on increasing kinetic energy are called dynamic compressors. This is a heat exchanger. Yeah. A device in which heat exchange takes place between process fluids is called a heat exchanger. Industry, this term refers to all heat exchange devices. Converters are divided into direct and indirect contact. In direct contact, hot fluid and cold fluid are separated from each other by an impermeable metal surface, such as a tube or plate. Yeah, this is, I apologize, this is cooler and this is heater. Cooler and heater have the same icon. And now I am going to talk about cooler. Coolers are devices that use to cool process flows in water, gas, or refrigerant such as R11, propylene, propane, used as a cooling fluid. The cooling fluid can be gas, which is usually cold air. Coolers can be used to cool the flows that want to sample. These devices are called sample coolers. The process flow enters their small tank and they are cooled by water flowing in a spiral cooled inside the chamber. Also, Water coolers are used to drum may be placed on the way to the place where the exhausted gas is sent to separate the saturated liquids from it. And the other device is yes, this is cyclone. For instance, we can design cyclone by ANSYS software, or we can simulate this device by Hysys program. This device has been used to separate particles from the air and collect industrial waste in cement factories. Sometimes this device is used for separate solid particles from liquids, and this method we can separate liquid drops from gas. Inside the cyclones, the airflow rotates at a high speed. Air that has dust particles with it moves from the top of the cyclone to bottom of the device. The upper part of the cyclone is larger than the lower part, so big particles have a lot of inertia when they are in rotation path and cannot through the narrow carrier path of the cyclone. These particles hit the wall cyclone and through towards the outlet of the chamber and out of the system. And the other device or machine is pump. It is pump. Pump is a device that takes mechanical energy from an external source and transfers to the fluid that passes through it. This fluid can be water, milk, and the other. The energy of the fluid increases after exciting. All pumps used for transfer the fluid to a certain height or its place in a pumping or hydraulic system. In general, pump is a kind of device for transfer fluid from one point to another point. And it is recycle tool. Recycle tool in Hysys program in order to complete the loop and create a reputation for the program according to the initial gases that came from run without loop. Recycle tool used when current is returned to device. If we haven't recycled, the calculation will stop. It is set to. I apologize. Yes. SET has the ability to transfer data such as temperature, pressure, flow from one system to another. It is mixer. It is to collect the flows for several streams. That is, it has several input streams and only one output. Yeah, the other item is distillation tower. Yes. This tower has a condenser and reboiler and can also have 2 degrees, and they are made of several components, each of which use either to transfer heat energy or enhance material transfer. It is reflux absorber. These towers have a condenser and can work full reflux or partial reflux. It is component splitter. What is component splitter? Component splitter is a tool that separates components based on lightness and weight. And it is absorber. I won't choose it. Yes. It is absorber. These towers do not have condensers and reboiler, and it is difficult to control them in industry. It performs separation based on mass transfer. Temperature and pressure changes during the absorption tower very important. Reboil absorber, yes. This tower has a reboiler. Degree of freedom degree of freedom for this tower is 1, and its operational efficiency is better than the operation tower. Stripping and stabilizing process are carried out with an absorption tower. Yeah, this is shortcut column. It is a tool that helps to calculate the number of tower trays and the best fitting place. It is a three-phase distillation and really famous. This tower has condenser, reboiler, and separators, 3 liquid phases, water, gas, and 2 liquids. Liquid extractor. Yes. This tower gives the designer the ability to perform extraction separation based on the injection of a solvent into two substances that cannot be separated based on boiling point difference. Plate exchanger. This exchanger consists of thin plates that are connected with a distance of about 3 or 6 mm, and two heat exchange fluid flow between the plates one by one. We can screw or solder when we connect the plate. And the other device is pipe segment. Pipe segment means all or part of any or all tanks, lines, valves, fittings, and apparent equipment required to transport crude petroleum from the receipt point to the redelivery point. And that's it for one video. Have a nice time.